So you're live. It says I'm live, and hopefully I'm going to be able to see some of the comments. Let me just come into the shade a little bit and see some of the comments to see whether we've got any sound. Sorry about the issue with my phone. Can anyone hear what I'm? Can anyone hear me? Anyone out there? Sorry if I'm looking a bit yes, excellent. So I'm going to walk over here and go back to where I was talking about earlier, and just tell me if I suddenly disappear and I'm too far from the router. But I've been so busy kind of sorting out my end of stuff, because I've been making these videos and doing all this sort of stuff, and I've just not been kind of like I've just not been sorting out my own end of stuff. And so what I've been doing is I've been doing it in my old truck. I don't know if you remember that. I took it out to France and I left it in France, and I had to go and get her, and she was just completely consumed by mice inside, and the back end was already so rusty. So I'm doing up this old one as well, and putting new metal into that while I've got all the welders out and everything else like that. I'm putting new metal into all of them, putting all the bits that it's just needed so much work, and it's just not worth doing the work on it, because the rear end is just gonna fall apart, and it has fallen apart. So I've just kind of like just kind of sit down here with you guys for a shake before I crack on. But I struggle to see it because of the bright sunshine. I struggle to see all the comments, but obviously I can go through them later, and your comments are going to obviously be up on this video as well, for anyone to view. So it's a great opportunity for all of you to say hello to each other, because you know those who are following me in this, my own community, they can't see this, and it's just too mad to look at. And there's a lot of, what did Steve Olson always called it? Is it cognitive dissonance, or what am I looking for? Cognitive dissonance. Well, you know the term I mean, where we just kind of choose to ignore certain things, and that are happening right in front of our, right under our nose. And I, as you can see, the thumbnail of this video, if it's come up, is the shot that Brandon Corey Nagley just put up in his last video. And obviously he shows obviously an ARRI 55 shot, which is the same object ARRI 55 posted, in my opinion, about a week ago, just getting much bigger. And in actual fact, I'm of a mind that object that Brandon Corey Nagley has just posted is also the same object. It's seen from different places on the globe, and we're getting the debris, and we're getting all the signs. I'm just, right now is my time for prepping a little bit, because after this, whatever happens here, it's, I noticed that after the last video, I said they were about to start doing, to the kids over 12, and they just cancelled it at the last minute. Actually, the next day after I posted that video, it was just like, not going to do that anymore. So we're seeing, we don't know how this is going to play out. The effort, we saw what happened in 1588. Massive attempts were motivated to push the Spanish to invade Britain, and they did. And that's where we saw the Spanish Armada being obliterated by the massive tempest that obviously clearly was the inspiration for their first Shakespeare play, The Tempest, the first in the book also. And we understand there that Francis Drake, master and commander of the fleet, the one who'd enraged the Spanish to get them so angry because they'd plundered all this gold in South America, and then he was there with superior firepower, flanking off the kind of like the ships, bringing all the gold bullion back from plundered gold back from South America, and Central America, and he was just taking it clean off them just by lining up loads of ships with loads of firepower, and so there's two ways this ends. And he would give them that dignified exit where they would just give all of their gold, or a percentage of their gold, over. And and they were allowed to live and keep their vessels. So it was a kind of like it became this kind of like, you know, you had to get past the British ships, and it was all about, really, it wasn't about aggression, force, and that sort of stuff. It was just an intellectual membrane. The difference between someone having a gun and someone not having a gun. And now all the nations of the world have state-of-the-art technology that is powerful enough to destroy the Earth. And so we're all beyond any point where, you know, when the gold standard was kind of dropped, when Nixon dropped the gold standard, he, you know, what replaced it has ultimately just been perpetual war and a gun under the table. But that doesn't and can't work anymore with the type of intellectual property that all the different nations around the globe have. You just can't operate on a system like that anymore. And so we are coming to the end of fiat-based currencies because there's no way you can sustain that type of exploitation. And that's what it is. It's just wage slavery. Well, you know, we've explored this. This is why I wrote Laughing Gas as much as anything else. That was my motivations. And then obviously I was given the messages that came through that, you know, it was this kind of realization that we come to a place where this earth no longer supports duality. That was my first message. To me, the big message that I had to kind of deal with and trying to kind of work back to what does that mean and go through the massive journey. And it's been such a massive journey understanding that whole thing. I still no sound. Can I ask, are you all just sitting there watching me speak and there's absolutely no sound? Oh my God. Have I just been doing that the whole time? Can anyone hear me out there? We can, I think it's we can hear. Is that a yes? Is that a yes? Yes. That's the thumbs up. Excellent. Yeah, it's a bit of a waffly state, and I just really felt like, because I've just been neglecting everything else and dealing with so much other stuff in my own life, just trying to get myself up to a point where I feel I could just like take this on board, whatever's going to happen here. You know, I think we're all just trying to do that. We can see something big is potentially about to happen, you know, in so many different ways. I went out yesterday to a friend's birthday party, and honestly, it was the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. It was the most beautiful day, and today is a beautiful day, and you just can't believe that anything could be up. And, you know, I don't want to load it with kind of like these stories that this is going to happen or that's going to happen, because we just don't know. You know, we just don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to be. We've just got these patterns within this that are, and these big flybys within this that are just mesmerizing. Just absolutely unbelievable, incredible. And we can see the bigger pattern of it running down our history lines, and we can feel this epic time that we're in, this utterly epic time that we're in, this opportunity to have a perspective of our world and our localized universe in a whole new way. You know, everything's up in the air, all the old ideas, you know, everything's it's like we've arrived in this world brand new. So many of us seeing it all as anew. And, you know, the new generation of kids coming in and the way they've kind of revolutionized our kind of our understanding of money, you know what I mean, with all these digital currencies and all this other kind of intertrading that's now going on, and the money movement. And, you know, when the big crash happened when I was a kid in 91, I think it was called Black Wednesday, I'm pretty much sure. And it was a big crash, and I was you know, just a teenager at the time, and I was struggling, and I had no money when I was a young kid, you know, a young man, very young man, 17, 18, 19, 20, that sort of age. I had so little money, and I got very used to that. Well, that just carried on right up to I was nearly 30, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? I'd have little pockets every now and then, but most of it was just traveling around the world without a penny, and just getting kind of lost in various different places along the way, and just getting stuck there. I got stuck in Hong Kong for years, and various different places. India, I got stuck for, You know what I mean? Just various places you kind of stop and you know, that recession was great for me. That was great for me because I just couldn't rely on that 4-digit PIN number. Beep, 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 beep. Every time I needed some money, every time I was buying anything, money was in the bank, just an abundant economy where it's just like we've got used to a lot of free money, a lot of cheap money coming through our hands because of the way in which the economies have kind of worked. And I mean, I exist very little. I'm very frugal with my existence, you know, and I kind of like, you know, when I buy a home, I buy a battered, broken home. And I kind of like, as you can see, and I know I've got to do a load of work on it and that sort of stuff to try and get it back to what it is, to give value back to it. But I'm a great believer in keeping the old ones on the road and keeping them going and buying stuff that needs love. And that becomes my home while I do it up and so on and so forth, and just kind of like, you know, and just existing really frugally on what I have. And right now is a time for me to just try and have a series of vehicles and boats and stuff like that that can be robust enough to kind of like to take things like earthquakes and big shaking of the ground, because I'm kind of seeing that's coming my way. I don't want it to come my way, but I'm kind of seeing the big patterns that are going on here. And I'm just thinking, you know, just try and, you know, just, you know, I want to have water stored. I want to have a little bit of food stored. I just want to have all my little bits and pieces sorted out as best I can for this, because my own immediate community can't see any of this and would be quite, they're in a different story. You know, in so many different stories, so much of the opposition that we've got in this world has been structured and created by the very governments that we feel like we're opposing. You know, there's so much, you know, it's not like it's too late now or anything else like that to change what's happening, but, you know, what's going to happen is what's going to happen, and we're just going to go through it. You know, we're in it now. We're right in the thick of it now. And it's just, you know, this is my time for just trying to do a little bit of that. You know, we won't really know until after whatever this flyby, the Area 55 is just shown in Brandon Corey, and the one that fits into, you know, like I say in my last video, that fit totally in with, you know, Calvin looking for Hobshot on the 15th of October last year, and then the, you know, the earthquake on around about the 31st maybe of October 2019, round about that sort of time. I'm sure I might have got those dates slightly wrong actually, but there's a big one I'm pretty much sure. And of course the 2018, the September the 28th, on the new or the full moon, but the big earthquakes and the Caldera. It was more of a volcano, wasn't it? It was the Krakatoa, the wall of the caldera collapsed and it caused the tsunami. But I can imagine that was a surge of the magma rising up to the top of the chamber, just like we saw in the Congo in kind of like April, May, where we saw that massive volcano right on the plate divide between the Indian plate and the African plate, where the Congo sits, and that massive volcano just surging up, filling with magma, and then all the walls just not be able to take that type of weight, and they just collapsed, and a sea of magma just spread out over the city. You know, these are indicative to this type of getting really close to us very quickly and then moving away very fast. Big surges. You know, I just don't know what we're going to get. Maybe nothing. Maybe nothing, you know, like I say, it's just like... But time to just trying to do my little bits that I can do on this end. You know, it's like I saw the people running in the volcano. You know, the one I showed you in the last video, it's just an epic shot of that volcano. I've just never seen a volcano release that much magma. You know, the woman, they were just standing there and she just picked up her stuff and ran. And I feel like the same, you know, it's just like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to run? Where you think you're going to get on a boat and sail across to? It's going to be the same in Europe. It's going to be the same everywhere. You're going to jump in a truck and ride off to the sunset. You know what I mean? I know that I'm in this. There's nowhere I can go, but I can be as prepared as I can be. and that helps me be to a place where I feel I can be at least some kind of sort of like in here, strong in here, in whatever way to broach this, whatever's going to come, and however this is going to affect us, this next sequence. So look, I've seen a lot of comments there, and I'm going to go through those in the later when I'm out of the sunlight, probably this evening. And there's lots of other stuff that I've been trying to catch up on, and I've just not been able to give any energy. Or literally all my moments at the moment, just waking at sort of early in the morning, going straight out, and just either working on trucks, or getting the boats ready, or getting the and just trying to just think about, having a quick look at some of the shots and getting the videos. I've not been able to do comments or anything really. I've just like been flat out trying to sort my end out. And I'm really, really urging you, just like, I might be wrong about this. And so many of you could look at all my model and say, Dave, you're just wrong all the way through. And some of you could look at my model all the way through and say, you know what, Dave, you're right all the way through. It just depends on how you're seeing it and whether you're aware really that I'm just trying to charter this. I'm not making this happen or not make it happen. What's happening is happening. And I'm just doing my best to charter this. And many of you've got your own special windows on this, many much more advanced than I've got. Many, I love Maverick's ideas, Relentless Maverick's ideas and all the ideas he postulates and the way he kind of plays with, I wouldn't say flat earth, but he plays with some ideas that almost link up to these flat earth ideas. And he's got these fantastic ideas. And we've all got our wonderful little ways in which we're exploring these things and trying to reach out to other audiences and try and open up other, like so many people have reached out to me about the mud flood kind of stories, the Tartaria. Is it Tartaria? Am I saying that correctly? But it was really cool. I'd seen it before, and I just thought I'd seen it. I couldn't get my head around it. And obviously, after the 1606, kind of looking at the floods, the floods, the mud flood that occurred here in Glastonbury, and this slow tsunami that took 10 days to come in and 10 days to go out, and you still see the brass plates bang to the top of the sort of like to the steeples at the highest places where the water came up so high, but it didn't destroy all the buildings like a tsunami in Fukushima. Came in slowly. It took 10 days to come in and 10 days to go out. This is a slow moving thing. You can navigate around this thing to a certain degree if you're aware of it. And this is all about awareness and seeing through the kind of crazy stories that have chained us to a lot of really quite heavy karma because of what they've allowed. Many of these stories that we've attached to have affected us on a very, very deep astral level because of what they've done to the world and because of the cognitive dissonance it's brought about within us, where we've actually we've just stepped behind a wall of belief, where someone says it's this and we just say it's climate change. You can't get past that, can you? Fuck yeah. Climate change. Bam. And they throw at the wall, which means I can operate completely beyond that. I can do whatever I like. I can watch nuclear power stations going off. I can watch all these tsunamis. I can watch all these crazy weather, crazy everything else like that, and just it's climate change, bam, and not have to take it any further because it's a religious wall of belief that's placed up. And once you put that religious wall up and you step behind it, you're really unaware of kind of what the nature of the belief that you're putting up and what you are actually really bringing in to the equation when you enter into a state of belief. What you are inviting into yourself, a narrative that you invite into yourself, which is, if you like, it's what, ultimately, it's really what Eckhart Tolle would call like a pain body unto itself. And it's very easy to let one of these entities of belief enter. They pretty much all use the same techniques. And it's a really, really good time to come out of any type of belief right now and just sort your house out. Sort your house out. Sort your bits out. Sort your things out right now. sort all the bits and pieces out that you can. Little bits and pieces, odds and sods. I mean, be good with your friends, try to hook up. And, I've been struggling with that just so much because of what I'm seeing coming in. I've just had to try and sort things out, and it's been coming out my skin and everything, which is why you don't see me sometimes. I get these horrible things on my skin sometimes. It started when I came out to America in 2017. Started actually on my face, like a lump came out here, and I managed to get rid of it here. And then it came off my arm, and it's been spreading at different rates, and I just really feel as if it's kind of linked to the whole stress of this thing. And so sometimes coming out of that and just saying, okay, I'm just going to stop for a little bit, and I'll do my stuff and just be active, because I know my physical body. I always talk about these 3 states of evolution. There's my ego state that is also being evolved, and even though it's trying to pull me down and everything else like that, ultimately we're in this tug of war, and its attempt to pull me down is ultimately a tug of war where I'm obviously attempting to pull it up. So there's my ego state that I know that I'm here to work with. There's my highest state, my highest state that is working with me, trying to help me, my humanity, stay with it so I can stay tuned. Because if I go too low and I get this information and then my ego state just tears it apart, then I'm a torn and tortured being. So if you want to kind of link to the highest aspiration, you've really got to kind of it was shown to me when I first started writing, it was shown to me as I'd been doing it for 4 months, waking up at 5 o'clock, writing every morning, non-stop for 6. I do 6 hours every day, non-stop. Sit there at a computer, nothing got through. Everything that was coming through me got documented. Any little fucker that had anything to say in my head, I wanted to write it down, no matter what it was. Just keep writing it all down. Just see what's coming through. Charter everything, just like I do in the skies. Instead of charting what's happening in the skies, I was charting what's happening here for 6 hours. I was manning this station, thinking, I run this portal, I control this portal, I man this gate for these 6 hours a day. If you've got something to say, I want to fucking hear it. I'm here, I'm listening, anything that's going on is getting written down. Now your ego will not utter a word, and it will try and slot in here and there. When you do that, when you man your own gate, when you man your own head and you take responsibility for everything, it comes through you, and you qualify and you write it down, you think about it, and you assess whether really that's your shit or not, whether that's really your opinion or just something coming in over and above you, and you think, actually, I don't ring with that. I don't vibe with that. There's a lot of stuff coming through us that we've got to we've got to charter and try and make sense of. And if it's not us, then we've got to let it go. You've really got to let it go. Consciously say, actually, nah. Laugh at it. Laugh at some of the stuff that goes through your own head. That's the wonderful thing about British humour, is that British humour is so wonderful because we can laugh at ourselves. When we can finally see it, we're so good at laughing at ourselves. And that's one of the wonderful things about British humour, is that we have a fantastic way of dealing with stress and that sort of stuff because of our ways to kind of laugh at the profundity of ourselves. And that's a big part about how we on a community level kind of evolve. I wouldn't say we've got it right, because we are what we are. But chartering your own head, realizing it's not all your shit. You don't have to feel guilty for so much of the shit that goes through you. Just listen to some of it. Just listen to some of your opinions. Just look at some of the things that you've you've backed and have been good, and some of the things you've backed and have not been so good. And let's look and start chartering that journey, because that's all part of the house. Listening to your own narrative and deciding which one you're going to go with, which is your highest aspiration. 3 levels of evolution: your human self, your ego self, and your higher self. And yeah, so I was saying that what it showed me is, so I'd been up in the mountains for 4 months, and in India, doing this kind of writing practice. I'd been writing for longer than that. I'd been writing for years, really. But then I'd been writing for a whole year before that, and then just after a year of writing, I realized I wasn't really writing. I wasn't really doing it. I was kind of wanting to do it, but I was still more sitting at the computer and wanting to write. I wasn't indulging in. I wasn't diving off the deep end and going into it. And I was just wanting to go into it. And when I finally realized I had to dive off, I had to go into it, I had to say the biggest, most exciting journey of my life and dive right into it, which was absolute total submersion into it, and doing it 6 hours a day as a practice, and just crowbarring that time, and and in that process, I got on this plane. This was the experience I had, utterly real. I was on this plane coming into Iquitos, coming over the jungle, where as you're coming into Iquitos, there's an amazing river you can see as you're coming in, if you're coming in the right direction, I suppose. But I've seen it in lots of photographs. I'm sure the Amazon is covered in these such phenomena, but it's just this river, and it just cuts through, and it just does this beautiful, perfect loop round, almost like an ayahuasca vine, and the way they can just suddenly go up. They kind of flower in these trees above. They're kind of total. They're not parasite. They're total symbiotic kind of relationship between this specific tree that they work with, and they flower in the canopy, and they do these. They can kind of go out on the ground. They do these perfect loops, and then they'll just go up into the canopy of the forest, and they just come up next to you, and they just go perfect loop. It's just like it's so. And when you kind of go into some of the visions, it's like you go down these kind of like you go through the root systems and through the plants and up through the flowers, and you go right. You feel yourself going around these loops. It's just absolutely, ayahuasca is such an incredible experience. But when going off to the mountains, I was kind of learning to do the ayahuasca experience without ayahuasca, which meant that waking up at 5 o'clock every morning and going straight to the computer and going straight into this space and learning, because I'd experienced that gateway, that doorway, and I've sat with many shamans, and I noticed, the finest shamans, they will touch the ayahuasca on their lips, and that is because the DMT that makes you dream is already occurring in your system. You've already got complete control of that. That's a doorway. That is humanity's doorway. This is all there. It's just that we've forgotten to use so much of this stuff. And so, I was relearning to do the things I was doing with ayahuasca, just with this early morning 5 o'clock practice, whilst I was waking up, whilst I was in my DMT, REM, rapid eye movement state, going straight to the computer and working on that space while I was in that space, entering into the doorway of that, and then writing within that space and learning to access through that space. And just before I woke up, I was on this plane coming in over this river into Iquitos, and I was looking at the river. It was full color dream. I was blowing on the glass, and it was steamy on the glass, to see the Amazon through it. And I looked through, looking through the window. I could see the plastic bending when I was pushing the window and pushing away the what do you call it, the vapor, and I looked down. I could see the roof, the trees of the rainforest, the whole emerald green, kind of like, it was just so bright, so real. I was like, God, it's like there, and we were just so low. And then the top of one of these trees just clipped the top of the wing, and the top of it just shot over the top of the wing, and the bottom of it went underneath. And we'd basically gone so low that we'd chopped the top of the tree off. I was like, pull up! And I woke myself up with pull up. And knowing that I had to make the choices of raising my vibration in that time. I had to really work through all of these narratives that I was going to go through. Whilst I was writing in the mountains, I was going to work on all these different projects, but I was going to go to all these different points in my life and write about all these different points where trauma had come into my life, or excitement, and all the different things that had brought me into the awe and the wonder, and to go back into those moments and see beyond the excitement and beyond the trauma, and see the people that were around me beyond those points, and have a perspective of what was happening beyond kind of the pivotal points of kind of change in my life. Sadness, joy, write about them all, and go up and down my own conduit that connects me to this now, and make sure that the flow was unpolluted with trauma and fear, that there was cognitive awareness, and not anger and blame coming in at those points. And to reconfigure my own intentions. Think about some of the things I was saying and visit those moments, own them, think about them. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Do you want to do them again? Were they good? Were they bad? What's been good? What's been bad? What could be, really come back to all the things in the house that are going to be really useful for this. Sharpen your chainsaws, fill your fuel tanks, keep your water butts full, keep all the stuff, have a few medical kits, make sure just sort stuff out, whatever you can. Some food, some seeds, some all this sort of stuff. Maybe nothing's going to happen, guys. If you're a lot of people, in China, for example, that could have been preparing for all of this that they've seen, and the type of flooding and the type of the type of difficulties that many have seen around the world through this big flyby that we've just experienced, and the type of earth changes. I don't know what preparations that many of those people did. Certainly in the flooding, who knows? We just don't know. But wherever we live in the world, we kind of know the kind of terrain of what we're living around and what we might need to do in the terrain that we live. And we just got to see the bigger picture right now. Just got to see the bigger picture. All of us trying to do what we're going to do. So I've just got to carry on for a little bit, sorting out my little end. I'm going to keep making these little videos and that sort of stuff. But, guys, I just don't think you need any more evidence of this thing. And if you can't see this thing for all it's doing and the massive increase in storms that we've been getting at this point and the incredible flybys, I can promise you it's just that you're not destined to see this thing. It's just not that it wasn't your journey to see this thing. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. You're still in the same world. There's so many things that I have not been able to comprehend that have been going on that I could have comprehended if I'd given it more attention. I'd have so loved to understand so much more about free energy. I so wish I'd put more energy into understanding free energy and free energy systems. And those of you that are out there that have had access to all this information, all I can tell you is if we got a complete digital blackout, like massive kind of like solar storm, the equivalent to what happened in 1859, and all information was just wiped, you'd be so pleased if you had some hard copies of some of that information down there, and you've managed to get that information out and make hard copies of the stuff that was precious to you. We don't know how big this is going to be. We just don't know. We can just charter it. So, but it's prep time. Just stay in that prepping. You don't have to go to town. And, what I was doing is, the last few times I ended up sort of like gathering lots of food where I really thought this was really going to be the big time. I just took it all to the, refugee centres, and in Calais and the one in there's one in Toulouse as well, and so I just kind of kept circulating that round, and just like, if that's the sum total that you end up sitting on a bit of food that you've got to distribute to the needy, is that the end of the world? Is that, I have to kind of, whenever I see these close flybys, and I just think this is the time to keep the larder stocked. Every time this has happened, sure enough, around the different parts of the globe, there's been massive life-changing events that have been very, very kind of big seismic sort of events. And we see these patterns. We know they're happening. So listen, all the people and there's so many people are communicating with me, and I just can't communicate with anyone and everyone at the moment. I'm just having to kind of just put a little bit of time, but I'm seeing all the tail end of everything that's coming in, and I'm so sorry if I'm just not, but there is going to be some time when I've kind of I'm just a little bit ahead. So I just feel as if I'm kind of ready to deal with this, but this could be October, this could be late September, this could be tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? We just don't know how big this event or when this next flyby is going to come in. For me, it's going to be sooner than later. So I'm just going to put everything I've got into the next 2 weeks in trying to sort my end out, and I really, really urge you to try and do the same, and us to all to hook up with whatever happens at the end of this, and remember what Bitcoin and all these things, they were created. The reason these things were created, don't forget, was that if there was a complete economic collapse, that you would have a system that could exist beyond satellite link systems, because the internet's connected by wires mostly. It does the internet, it does the satellite links, but it does under ocean, undersea cables that connect it. So if you're seeing a surge in digital currencies and people are connecting the dots, there's something big's going to happen, and a lot of people want to put their money into something safer. We could see some of the digital currencies really surge in these times. Those, if this thing is really real, and as a lot of people do really have an understanding that that you know that something big's going to go on, then that's why the digital currency is a decentralized thing that exists beyond a satellite link. Most of our banking systems and that sort of stuff would go down within a very short period of time if they lost their satellite links. Many of these digital currencies were designed to cater for this and could see a massive increase if the banking sector directly was to experience something big. And many of you are going to lose everything in this, whether it's just an economic crash. Don't forget, this is not like I was going on about the 80s and 90s crash, the 91 crash that was changing in my life. We had loads of kids staying at home playing Cubase. We thought they were just annoying little kind of nerds that were wasting their lives. And they ended up piecing together the kind of like the new Carlos Fandango music industry of today that gave us kind of trance and all the kind of offshoots of that, and kind of like the whole, not whole, but we've, if there was a massive recession to happen today and all fiat-based currencies were worthless today, there's so many new ways of making money. There's so much of an exciting future ahead of us beyond a fiat-based currency. We're not talking about the end of the world here. We're talking about a change. And it could be very quick, and it could almost be seamless. It was seamless in India. They cancelled the currency overnight. All the 500 and all the 1,000 rupee notes, that was 97% of everyone's money was cancelled overnight. And everything became digital based. And the new currency was released, and everyone just got through it by they had much stronger communities. They all just keep tabs of what everyone owed and that sort of stuff. And then all around the back of all the streets, all the people who kept all their money under the mattress, around the back of every street through Delhi, there were just bin liners full of billions of rupees. Billions. People were just burning. They're just, no one could own them, because if you'd own them, that means you were a criminal. You couldn't take them down because you couldn't just go down and change them into new currency, because every penny you had to prove that you'd paid your tax on it, that it was a legitimate money, which they couldn't do. And so they lost it. So they just put it in a bin liner outside. No one wanted to say, "This is my money." It goes like, "Arrest him!" So, across India, it was just everyone's wealth gone like that. And they just carried on seamlessly. Everyone just carried a little notebook of how much they owed. Everyone just kept buying and selling, and they just kept their communities. They all sat in a lot of stock and that sort of stuff, and they just got through it. Now you wouldn't even know it happened, and during the time you wouldn't even know it was happening because they just managed to keep levies of everything and everything owned and that sort of stuff, and that's how they done it. And then everyone slowly paid back their debts and just kind of carried on as if nothing had happened. You know, it's good luck through this. You know, whatever happens, you know, like I said good luck through the last one, the big part of the Blue Kachina, whether we want to call it Uranus, whether you want to call it the Blue Kachina or Jupiter or Neptune. It was a big one though, you know, guys. It was just a massive one. A lot of people left the planet during that time. A lot of people lost their homes, lost their lives, lost their livelihoods. Biggest storms globally that we've seen for 1,000 years. Exactly when I told you you'd see it. And I was wrong though. Even though you saw it coming in, you saw all the shots of it coming in, you saw all the type of seismology, the type of volcanoes, the type of earthquakes, the type of weather, the type of flooding, the type of tempests that I told you you'd see. And you're seeing. You know, you're in it now. You're just in it. Anyway, look, I've waffled on for long enough, and I just, you know, it's just coming back to you guys to say that, you know, there's if you can hear this and you're getting this, you know, you are the front line here. You are the front line. You are, in my opinion, if you're understanding this, well, you know, it doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, or, you know, we're just desperately trying to get a window on this, aren't we? That's all we're trying to do, an overview of this. And many of you see what I'm doing, and you're attached to different stories here and different stories there, and you've all got your coming in from your own little narrative that you've built over a long period of time, and different beliefs and different views, and, you know, and trying to keep open to various different people so you can keep on the right side of them, because we try and connect our ideas to different people so we're kind of like a little bit more compatible and acceptable and approachable, and we want to kind of be received in the best possible way. So anyway, hopefully you've heard this, and hopefully you're going to do whatever it takes in your life to be somewhat prepared for whatever comes in here, and not be in fear. Work through it all the time. Just remember what you're doing. Are you wanting to hurt anyone out there? Is there anyone you want to hurt? Is there anyone you're really hating? Is there anyone sort of like you want to, you know, just remember, track your own intentions to a good place. A good place. You remember that, you know, if you don't want to hurt anyone and that sort of stuff, and you want to see beautiful change in this earth, and you want to be part of that, just keep coming back to that and keep asking for clarity, for guidance, and to, you know, just to be the best person you can in this. Just keep trying to track where you're going and why you're doing the things that you're doing. Bring it back to a good place. Bring it back to a good place. Work to do that. Work to keep your vibration high. You know, just to stay in a good place. Look at that. I'm just seeing, look, Carla Skywatcher. Hi, Dave. I've got a bit of an all-star cast there. So honoured to see so many. I'm going to go through this into this evening. I'm going to now get back on the welding and the cutting metal and the plasma cutters and the kind of like, and then I'm going to go to the, I've got to put new brakes on the car as well. The lights just come up in the car. The brake pads have just gone. I've just done the turbo pipes on the car from the last drive. And now so I've just got to whip the wheels off and try and work out which brake pads have gone, and try and do those. And then I'm back to Boston tomorrow to kind of finish the sealing on the boat and just try and get that ready for the boat safety. And all these little bits and pieces of all these kind of dilapidated vehicles and boats I've got everywhere that need loads of work. But my human self, that's what the other thing I was going on about was my human self in this, you know, is like a bit of he's a bit of an action man. He likes doing stuff, and he needs to kind of likes physics, likes things that work and come together. And so I have to nurture that part of myself and give myself things to fix. As like throwing the doggy a biscuit every now and then. And I need to kind of like have my little play in this world as well and be functional and feel as if I can do my part for my community and my friends and the people I love. And let's talk about that. Can you hear that? That's my other half arriving. So I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. All the honey in the heart. Look out, get your house in order. Get your house in order. Sort it out. Love you so much.